The ocean provides us with so many blessings. When oil leaks into the ocean, over time the toxic oil can spread over great distances. It is our job to prevent the pollution oil spills create and the spread of the damage they cause. We have to use effective measures quickly to stop the pollution and minimize the damage. To do so, we must know about the various types of oil, their properties, and the materials and equipment used to clean up oil spills. There are different types of oil depending on country and location where they are produced. Some oil is thin and light with large amounts of gasoline. Others are thick and sticky. These are known as heavy crude oil. Refining crude oil produces several types of oil. They range from oil with a low flash point and viscosity to naphtha, gasoline, kerosene, diesel oil, heavy oil, and lubricants. Gasoline and crude oil are highly flammable. When these types of oil leak into the sea, there is the risk of it exploding into flames. All we can do is stay a safe distance away from the leak point and wait until the gas fumes disappear. Kerosene and diesel oil can also evaporate, and they cause minimal damage to fisheries. But lubricants, heavy petroleum, and crude oil with its gas evaporated can cause heavy damage to the fishing industry. To prevent pollution and the spread of damage, it must be cleaned up quickly before it drifts ashore. Oil leaked onto the surface of the sea changes its character over time. The oil mixes with the seawater, increasing its viscosity. This process is called emulsion. Sea-heavy oil and crude oil absorb seawater. Their volume increases 3 to 4 times. This raises the viscosity, turning the oil into sticky sludge, much like chocolate mousse. In general, the current and wind can shift the location of the spilled oil. Tide has a 3% and wind a 100% effect on its movement. The speed at which the oil shifts and the direction can be forecast in advance. As spilled oil drifts, seaweed, driftwood, plastic, and other things attach to it. The entire volume of the oil increases. This means that about 10 times the actual amount of oil spilled must be cleaned up. An oil spill must be cleaned up completely before it drifts onto shore. There are various types of materials and equipment to recover and clean up the oil. An oil sorbent roll absorbs or allows the oil to attach itself to it. An oil skimming net collects the oil. It also absorbs it and allows the oil to attach itself to it. There are oil booms to collect, guide, enclose, and control spilled oil. Dispersants turn spilled oil into fine grains which scatter into the water. Loaded onto a ship, this recovery device pumps out the oil collected in oil skimming nets and oil booms. This grab crane ship is usually used to grab up sand. It is also highly effective in recovering high viscosity oil or mousse-like sludge. Now let's take a close look at these oil spill recovery and cleanup materials and equipment. There are many types of oil sorbent that can be used. They absorb the oil and differ depending on the type and condition of the oil spill. They are made of chemical fiber such as polypropylene, as well as wood, bog moss, cotton, and other natural materials. The material can be divided into 5 types according to its shape. There are oil sorbent pads used to absorb the oil collected in an oil boom or oil skimming net. In order to guard against more pollution, you must ensure all oil pads are taken back during the recovery work. Oil sorbent rolls are used directly as is. The length of each roll is 65 meters, and the weight is about 17 kilograms. A cutter is used to cut the roll to any length needed. A stack of Z-type oil sorbent sheets is designed to stay in place during light to moderate winds. A flag strip of pads can be secured with rope. These pom-poms come in 2 varieties. One is made of very fine fiber. It is used to absorb many types of oil, from light oil to the mousse-like sludge oil. The other is composed of wider, spaghetti-like strands. It is used specifically for the mousse-like sludge oil. Oil skimming nets contain sorbent in the net. The length of the underwater portion of the net is 30 centimeters. This allows seawater to flow under the net back into the open sea. The nets are light and not easily moved around by the waves. They are a very useful way to absorb and capture spilled oil. As you can see in this aquarium demonstration, as soon as the oil skimming net touches the oil, it starts absorbing and capturing it. There are various types and sizes of oil booms. These vary according to the drift speed, wave height, and wind speed in the spillage zone. Types A and B oil booms are for inside a bay. Types C and D are used in the open sea. Oil booms come in 3 varieties. The stationary kind is made of styrofoam, so it floats. Another kind is filled with air. You must be careful not to tear these booms during use or storage. Though the screen kind is easy to set, it is also easily affected and moved by the wind, waves, and current. Oil booms in the past used lead weights so they would not drift. Lead, however, is hard to dispose of properly and is not used anymore. Oil booms are kept in place with anchors, buoys, and ropes. Tying them on both ends and in the middle makes the best shape for controlling the spill. Here you can see the appropriate conditions for using the B type of oil boom. If operational conditions become worse, the oil would leak over the top and under the bottom of the boom. There are also various ways in which oil booms and nets are used, depending upon how they will be used. They are most often used as an enclosure to trap the oil inside. 2 boats can be used to tow them to the spillage zone. Any portion of the spill that has escaped from below the water's surface can be recovered by an oil skimmer ship. When the tide or currents are very strong, the oil booms can be used at an angle against the current. This changes the direction of the floating oil. Here they are used on the leeward side of the spill zone. Once the oil has been collected, it can be quickly recovered. Oil dispersants can break up the spilled oil and scatter the oil as fine grains into the open sea. The micro oil grains are then broken down by the action of bacteria. There are many types of oil. Workers must find the most effective dispersant to use on the oil. To do so, samples of the spilled oil must be gathered and tested in advance of spray operations. Oil dispersants should not be used if there is absolutely no chance of recovering the spilled oil. Regulations prohibit the use of these chemicals in ocean locations where they could harm delicate marine resources in the area. In addition, they are not effective against oil that has already turned to a mousse-like sludge. Oil dispersants must be utilized in an undiluted state. They are never diluted with water. You must never spray an excessive amount on the spilled oil. The dispersant must also be sprayed on the windward side of the oil. During strong winds, spray the dispersant as close to the surface of the oil slick as possible. You should be very careful not to let the dispersant touch your skin. The dispersant and oil must be agitated or mixed up immediately after spraying. There are also some dispersants which do not require this. If you used ordinary kitchen detergent on an oil slick, it may appear to break up oil completely, but the oil would only sink to the seabed and never decompose. As kitchen detergent contains surfactants, they are highly toxic and would harm marine resources. You must never use them on oil slicks. There are several types of equipment and devices used for oil recovery. This one floats on top of the water. When oil enters the inlet of the unit, it is pumped out, and the pumped oil is transferred to a nearby oil recovery stalker. Here is some equipment used to clean up oil that has drifted on shore. Long poles with fishing nets, scoops, and hooks attached are also often used in some way to recover oil. Oil with high viscosity can be cleaned up by handheld scoops and brushes. Solidifiers are used to make oil solid. After they are spread over the oil, the surface of the oil slick is agitated slightly to make them more effective. Once the oil has become solid, it can be scooped up using a small mesh wire net. There is also an oil recovery frame. After the oil spill has been gathered and transferred into the frame, the oil slick itself will thicken in the frame and can be recovered. There are two kinds of oil recovery frames. This is a small one which can be carried by 2 or 3 people. This is a flow-in type of oil recovery frame. It lies in waiting until the oil floats into the inlet, then it recovers it. Both types use pumps to increase recovery efficiency. This is a vacuum system used to suck up oil that has drifted onto rocks and beaches. This high-pressure cleaner uses pressurized water to clean away oil that has drifted onto Tetra Pots or dikes. However, you must never use extremely hot water because of the great damage it causes to the ecosystem. In addition to these, powerful vacuum trucks and concrete pump trucks are used to recover oil directly from the spill site or from drum cans, where it has been temporarily stored. Aside from the typical equipment and materials used to clean up the oil, new types of cleaning methods will be introduced to clean up oil that has drifted ashore. Bioremediation is a nutrition supply for bacteria activity to help break down the oil. Great expectations are placed on it as an environmentally friendly means to clean up oil spills. Lastly, there are also materials and equipment for storing the oil recovered from the sea and shore. These include drum cans, portable tanks and bags, as well as the use of pits dug in the ground. The oil recovered from the sea or shore is transferred to a drum can or similar type of container. These must always be sealed properly after being filled. The oil can also be stored in portable tanks that can be easily set up on site. Empty sandbags can be used to collect oil with high viscosity. Storage pits are dug into the ground and lined with steel plates, and then the plates are covered with strong plastic sheets. Afterward, the oil stored in the pits is loaded onto a barge or tanker for transport, and later burned at an industrial waste site. Cleanup operations usually take place in locations under poor working conditions. Medical teams must be on standby in case of an emergency, and workers should be properly insured against injury. Workers have to wash themselves clean of any residual oil left on their clothing or body, and particularly on their boots to prevent any additional pollution. Oil spills are something nobody wants, but always being properly prepared to respond to them is the best way to deal with them.